So what a week it's been for those of us who love DCS, right? Eagle Dynamics released the multi-threaded executable in a kind of open beta for the open beta. But man, that thing really made a huge improvement and saw even some of the harshest critics of Eagle Dynamics singing their praises. It really brought up everyone's frame rate, especially those of us or including those of us in VR. I'm a VR only player, and I loved what I got out of the new multi-threaded executable. It was great. I thought, man, this is the way. How could things get better? It's going to be a long time, right? Well, wrong. Some guys over on the Varjo Discord, mbucchia and Masta FR, and I'm sorry, I know I probably mispronounced some of that stuff, but they were going crazy over the past couple of days. They figured out a way for those of us who own a Varjo headset to take advantage of the dynamic foveated rendering in DCS. So what that means is that they actually managed to take advantage of the eye tracking in the Varjo headsets to dynamically render the area that you're looking at much higher and dropping down the rendering of the areas you're not focused on to a lower resolution. And since you're really not looking at it, you rarely will really notice this. There are some instances you can kind of pick up where the higher rendering, border is, but man, it actually brought your frames per second count way up. Now I'm running a Varjo Aero, and my system is using a 4090 graphics card and an AMD 7950X 3D. So I've got this thing pretty much maxed out. It's kind of the top end system for playing DCS right now. And I gotta say, I'm pretty much getting 90 frames per second with everything maxed out. Now I say everything, I don't have anti-aliasing at 4 times. I still have that at 2 times, but all of the other settings, clouds, low distance, detailed, all that stuff, I have it pretty much maxed out. And I'll share my settings so that I'm not like overstating this, but it has made a huge difference, and I'm getting 90 frames per second. Now that's just me cruising around on my own, flying some missions, standalone. Now on a multiplayer server, which is really the big test of this, I would get varying frame rates. So when I first load in on the carrier, and if I'm facing, depending on where I'm facing, if there's stuff going off somewhere or there's land and stuff, I was getting some lower frame rates, but still way better than before. And when I would get up to altitude, like if I'm flying higher up in the sky, I was definitely getting 90 frames per second. When I get down low, I'll get down around 60 frames per second. You can see in some of the videos that I'm playing here what kind of frame rates I was getting. It was still great frame rates, and again, this is with everything maxed. Now I think I'm definitely going to play with my settings. I don't need clouds at ultra or whatever it is, so give it a shot and see what works for you. All right, so enough of the talk. How do we get this thing to work, right? Well, the first thing I would suggest is to hop onto Discord and have a look at that. So one of the first things you're going to have to do is, if you have it installed, disable the OpenXR Toolkit. That is super easy to do. You just open up the OpenXR Toolkit companion app, which you can see here. And then you're going to need to just check that box there. It says disable the OpenXR Toolkit. Once you're done, you can go ahead and close that and not worry about it. Now, there's one other thing you're going to need to do in DCS, if you have it enabled, is you need to disable the bloom effect, as it apparently produces poor visuals when you're using foveated rendering. One other thing I'd heard about is the night vision goggles. can have some issues, but I haven't really played around with that yet. But if you're having issues with it, I think there's some solutions to it. And I'm not sure if that's just the default or if you're using one of the mods to adjust how night vision is presented to you while you're in your cockpit. But there are some workarounds for it. So if you're not certain, you can go ahead and ask in the commentary on this video, and I can get you some answers. But one thing I'd heard about. So here we go. Now this is on the, let's get all this stuff out of the way so we can see the good stuff. So this is over on the Varjo Discord, and in the documentation, there's a step, basically step-by-step around how to do this. So the first thing you do is make sure that you have your executable pointing to the binmt, right? The multi-threaded binary, and then you do the -- force OpenXR. Now I'll include this information in the video notes so you can go there and find it, as well as links to everything else that I show you. All right, so I've already got that. I'll show you here. Mine does force enable VR because I only play VR, and then force OpenXR. That's the main thing. And also make sure you're in that bin-mt for both your starting in and your target. All right, make sure you're using the proper directory. Don't be using the old one because this won't work with that. All right, so I got that done. Now, if you had the Varjo wrapper installed before, you need to uninstall it. And he does give you the link to the to how to uninstall it. I'll show you that here. So ultimately, it's just really renaming the original or the old file. So if you install this, the instructions were to rename the original one to .original and putting in this new one. Now I'll show you. I actually use a mod manager, so I can add this in and take it out very easily. But I'll show you here. So this is the original file, .original, and this is the one you want. Now with mod manager, I can just tell it to uninstall, and it'll do its thing. So here I have this. I'm just going to say uninstall, and boom, we're back to how that directory should be. Now, if you didn't save it, obviously, you could just go and reinstall Varjo base, download that, and have all that fun. But that's it. So that part of the prerequisite is done now as well. Okay, so we've uninstalled that wrapper if you had it. If you don't worry about this step. Now you need to download the mbucchia's Varjo Foveated Installer, right? And here it is. And again, I'll have this link in the video notes. So he steps through some of the instructions, and I do encourage you to read through this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot that you have to do with this. Ultimately, it's just download the MSI because we've already done some of the other work. So you download that MSI, which I have. So download the Varjo Foveated, and then you basically run it. I've already installed it, so I'm not going to step through this, but it's really just a couple of screens that say, hey, you're installing this, give permission, all that kind of stuff, and then you're done. Now there's some additional instructions here if you want to play with the settings and adjust things, but for the most part, the default stuff should be good for most. Again, if you want to adjust some of this stuff, you can go ahead and play with it. And all the information is here on the page. And do keep up with this. I'm sure there's going to be revisions made to this. They're still talking about, different things they can do over on the Discord here. It's great to see this. But once you've got this step done, you're good to go. You don't have to do anything else. How crazy is that? Now, I guess one thing you will want to do is go to your Varjo base software. right? And make sure you have foveated rendering enabled. Now it'll calibrate each time. You know, you got to start at the dot. I just have it remember my calibration, so I do that once because sometimes I got to lift the headset off when I'm playing, and having to go through that is just a pain in the butt. And that's it. Now you'll see I have this at the highest setting. You could start at high and work your way up, but highest is working for me. And that's it. Once you've got that done, you're good to go. Go run your multi-threaded DCS executable with the VR and your Varjo headset, and prepare to be amazed. Start playing with your settings. Again, everyone's settings is going to be different based on your hardware and based on your preferences. Like some people want absolute best performance, and they will turn down things like, you know, having more grass or, you know, clutter and all that kind of stuff. It's just up to you. If you're down in the weeds in the helicopter, you can see more of that. So maybe it's cool to see, but maybe you don't want the frame impact from it, right? Again, up to you. I'll leave notes with what my settings are, and I'll fly around a little bit on single player and multiplayer to show what frames I'm getting on my system. And you can see for yourself what's going on and how my system's holding up to it. Again, if you don't have the latest processor and the latest video card, this can still really help you. Because again, it's not rendering all of that stuff that you're not focused on. So, and you really, I doubt you're going to notice it. If you kind of pay attention on your peripheral, you might see a little bit more aliasing going on at the edge or something like that. But it's a beauty to behold. And you look down in your cockpit, and everything is just super, super clear. I mean, I used to love my old HP Reverb G2 because I thought, oh, this thing's this is it. That nice sweet spot. Then I got my Varjo Aero, and I'm like, oh, this is even better. But now with this, in DCS, flying around, super smooth, with everything just super high resolution, it's just blowing my mind. It is a great time to be playing DCS, and hopefully these guys continue to revamp this and get it a little bit, tweak it out and make it even better. And I really do hope that the folks over at Varjo recognize these guys for what they're doing, and also even at Eagle Dynamics. But I mean, this is really specific to the Varjo Aero, and I think we all owe these guys a huge thanks for their efforts and their passion, right? So go at it, have fun. Let me know in the notes how what your experiences are. Drop some comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, ask. I'll see if I can help you. But the best place to get answers to questions are over on the Varjo Discord. Those guys will really help you out. Take care.